Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Employee Financial Wellness, Your $1 Trillion Problem. My name is Patrick Donovan, and I am the Senior Vice President of Client Relations here at Bright Horizons. I'm talking to you today from our world headquarters just outside of Boston. And because this is a bit of a personal topic, I'll let you know that I have 4 children ages 10 to 16. In the context of this webinar on financial wellness, I consider them my $1 million problem as I think of the college costs for all 4 of them. I am thrilled to be joined today by Wayne Klieger, Senior Vice President of Compensation and Benefits at Neuberger Berman, and an esteemed client of Bright Horizons. Wayne, would you like to say a quick hello?
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Patrick. Thanks. I'm here in New York City, so anybody in the line, don't be surprised if we get some urban noise on the call.
Make it more exciting. Thank you, Wayne. So on behalf of Wayne and the whole Bright Horizons family, I want to welcome you all to our webinar, which will focus on a few things. First, how employees are struggling with financial wellness today, why employers like you are concerned about that, and what innovative solutions you can put in place that both Bright Horizons and Neuberger Berman have put in place to address that problem, achieve results, and gain recognition as employers of choice. You might even get your question answered, and you're definitely going to get an action item assigned to you. So look forward to that. I'm thrilled to see so many of you joined us. We have all kinds of industries here: healthcare, financial services, entertainment, high tech. It's great to see such a big audience. We only have a quick 30 minutes, so we're going to dive right into the content after a few housekeeping reminders. We are tweeting live during this event, so if you see on the screen the Twitter icon there, you can click on that and see our Twitter handle @BHAtWork. So follow us if you don't follow us already, and the conversation around this will follow under the hashtag @SawLive. So, #SawLive. SAW stands for Solutions at Work, by the way. If you've experienced any technical difficulties, just click the Help button or type a question in the Q&A box, and our host will assist you. And Wayne and I definitely want to get questions during this, so you can submit those by hitting the Q&A icon. At the end of the webinar, we will take as many questions as we can, and we may stick around a little late, depending on how many we flood into the question box. Okay, so if you've joined us, then you know a little bit about Bright Horizons, but let me give you a quick summary so you know a little bit more about who we are. We're obviously an employer ourselves. I have 26,000 coworkers in 6 countries. We are largely a young workforce, as you could imagine, as we primarily deliver child care in our early childhood education centers. That workforce is definitely feeling financial stress, and so we've been doing a lot to address that internally. We are also an employer of choice. We're very proud of being named 16 times on Fortune's 100 Best Companies to Work For. In addition, though, we serve employers. So we serve over 900 employers, including 80 on the Working Mother 100 Best Companies list and more than half of the 2015 Fortune 100 Best Companies. We often work with employers to support their strategies on financial wellness, and one such client is Neuberger Berman. So Wayne, can you give us a quick overview of Neuberger Berman?
Sure. As you can see on the slide, I generally don't like to reread the slide, so you can just see we're an employee-owned global asset management company. I'll talk a little bit about our population here. I like to consider our population, it's sort of like a barbell where we have sort of a lot of people on one side who are younger, maybe like under 40, and a whole bunch of people in our population who are older, like over 55. Sometimes that creates challenges in benefits design. Predominantly, professional white-collar workforce. I've been here 3 years. Things I've noticed since I've been here: incredibly collaborative, entrepreneurial culture. We really value work-life balance here. It's supported. The senior management team is highly engaged. They don't believe in the status quo. They're always looking for continuous improvement, including on the comp and benefit sides, which sort of makes my job very interesting.
Great. Thank you, Wayne. Now, Wayne and I are not going to do all the work here today, so we have a poll for you guys. And I'm going to relate this to a SHRM study in the slide. So how would you all describe your employees' overall financial situation, their financial well-being and wellness right now, from a scale of 1 being very poor, 7 being very good? Just click on your answer. I guess full would be okay. Click on your answer and hit submit. And I see the answers coming in now, and then we'll broadcast that to the group. And I'm going to relate that to a SHRM study done last year of a very similar question. But across all the organizations right now, why don't we push those poll results? Let's see what you guys think. This is the exciting part of the webinar where you can practice. Okay, so it looks like, boy, is that a normal distribution? It looks like most people think they're okay. Their employee's financial situation is okay. And let's see, we got about 22% say it will be worse than okay, and about the same, better than okay. Interesting. All right, we're going to come back to that when we look at the SHRM study. But if we're going to talk about financial wellness, first let's define it so that we know what we're all talking about. So a state of good financial well-being includes a few components. The first would be you're experiencing minimal financial stress. You would have a strong financial foundation, and you'd have a plan that you're following towards goals that you have set, financial goals you have set, and you're following that plan. If you think of the financial foundation piece, that would mean that you have little to no or at least manageable debt. You have an emergency savings fund and are living at or below your means. Now, that's a tall order, obviously, but if you were hitting all those things, you would consider yourself as having a very strong sense of financial well-being. How do you think about financial wellness, Wayne, at Neuberger Berman?
Well, I definitely agree with your three tenets there, the little or no debt emergency fund and living at or below your means. I would add to that a savings plan for retirement. I don't know if anybody saw, but last week the Government Accountability Office published an article that there's a high percentage of Americans that are not ready for retirement. And I really think as far as getting employees to a state of financial well-being, it's really a two-way street. I think the employees need to be committed to doing this, and the firm needs to be committed to helping the employees. I think it's both ways.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. Okay, so if that is what we consider financial well-being, what is the state of our employees' financial wellness? So you guys already did the poll, and interestingly, you were actually more optimistic than a broader survey done by SHRM last year when HR professionals were asked. And in that survey, you can see on the left, a majority said that it was not good. So you can see 50% fair and another 11% poor or very poor. A survey of Americans themselves taken a year before that, in 2013, showed also a majority not good. Interestingly, that number is worse as you go year to year. So it seems like the financial wellness of our employees is not getting better. Obviously, folks on this call understand that financial stress creates other impacts on healthcare costs, absenteeism, and productivity, things we're going to get into a little later. And if you have benefits that can address this financial wellness, those are going to be increasingly important in your overall benefit strategy plan. What are some examples, Wayne, that you guys have done at Neuberger Berman to address employee financial well-being?
Well, we really tend to be very paternalistic in our approach, and as a result, we've implemented some benefit programs that I would call, softer, but really provide a great foundation for financial wellness. One of them we introduced very recently was Employee Investment Solutions, EIS, and what that allows not only access to our firm product, but actually provides individual financial planning not only for the employees, but for the employees' families as well, which is really a great benefit and helps promote a wellness. Obviously, we've implemented College Coach, which has helped a long way. I'm a big fan of Bright Horizons, backup childcare as well. And again, recently we've introduced a very robust profit-sharing plan. We've actually sacrificed current cash comp for retirement savings so people are prepared. And benefits such as these mentioned are really a primary reason why our company was named by Pension Investments as the best place to work in money management for both 2013 and 2014.
Congratulations. That's terrific.
Thank you.
No pressure for 15, Wayne. Okay. So back to this slide. If the majority of our employees overall do not report their financial situation as good, let's look and see if there's specific groups inside our workforce that's impacted more than others. So as you look in, of course, I wouldn't answer the question if the answer wasn't yes. There are some that are more impacted. If you look at here on the left-hand side, those that are 25 to 34 are reported as the most stressed by HR leaders, and the next group, 35 to 44. So you can see predominantly millennials, some into Gen X, folks that are probably just started a family, thinking about saving for college, probably still have a lot of debt of their own. And to talk about that debt, if you look on the right-hand side, and this is where the title of the webinar comes from, right now there's over $1.3 trillion in student loan debt outstanding right now. And two-thirds of that is held by people under 40. So if you think of your workforce, think of everyone you have under 40, they are bearing an enormous amount of student loan debt today. Again, for the most part, millennials that you should be thinking about. So Wayne, at Neuberger Berman, are there particular employee segments that are more impacted?
Yeah, I don't want to be repetitive with the last slide, my last comment I just made, but we are finding that these financial wellness programs that we're introducing, that they're really gaining significant traction among that population identified, the 25 to 44-year-olds. And again, we're finding word of mouth is really helping spread the words about how powerful these benefits are.
Okay, and I can see we're getting questions coming in, which is great. Please keep sending those, and we'll get to as many as we can at the very end of this webinar. All right, so let's dig into what is driving this employee stress. Why are people feeling this way? So, the first thing, it's easy to say, it's true for everyone on this call and everyone you work with, none of us feel like we're paid what we should, right? We all like to have raises and bonuses, and everyone would like their salaries to increase because we're all experiencing higher costs, right? Higher cost of living, higher housing costs. We're all working harder, that's for sure. Healthcare costs are going up, and they're they're actually the biggest source of bankruptcy is healthcare costs. But if you look at personal debt specifically, personal debt, which can include auto debt, credit card debt, and student loan debt, that really trumps almost everything on this list, specifically student loan debt. So let's look at that a little bit more closely. I've already told you that the current outstanding debt is $1.3 trillion. Now, if you think about paying for college, whether it's for yourself or for your children or grandchildren, it's typically the second largest purchase a person will make next to their home, depending on where they live. College costs have increased much more than inflation over the past 20 years, creating a student loan debt crisis that's getting more and more attention. You can see some of the other stats on here. As I told you, 2/3 of the debt is held by people under 40, which means 1/3 is held by people over 40. So there are people throughout your organization, whether it's debt they have for themselves, their children, or their grandchildren, that they're carrying for student loan debt. A recent study by the Reserve Bank of New York said that roughly a quarter of student loan debt right now is past due, creating a lot of stress on people. And just in this 30-minute webinar, there'll be another $4 million in interest added. So how does this trillion-dollar problem impact you, the employer? There's 3 areas we're going to touch on briefly. The first one is absenteeism. So as you can see, as this slide shows up, a couple of stats on absenteeism. So over 1/3 of HR professionals have said that employees have missed work due to financial emergencies, and over 20% of employees themselves have admitted that they have skipped work to deal with some kind of a financial problem. So, that's not something that they're going to really talk about around the water cooler, how much debt they have, but it's definitely impacting absenteeism. Is this something that's resonating with you, Wayne, at Neuberger Berman?
It does, and like I said earlier, we do a lot in our surveys, and we don't specifically address stress or financial stress in our surveys, but we do ask about work-life balance, and we've implemented a lot of programs to help sort of reduce stress from employees. The benefits I mentioned earlier, we have like a run-walk club, we have a bicycle club, a book club, all sorts of the sort of sport teams, and really all designed to sort of balance that work-life balance and have people focus on work when they're here.
Excellent. Okay, so absenteeism is the first. How about when your employees are at work? And let's talk about productivity. So poor financial wellness also impacts productivity. I'm not going to read you every stat in this slide, but you can see whether it's HR professionals or the employees themselves, they're definitely reporting that it's impacting productivity. So here's your action item. If you're not asking about financial wellness, or you're not asking about the impact in your own employee engagement or employee opinion surveys, you really should. I'd encourage you to do that. Wayne, any more thoughts you'd have on sort of the lost productivity around financial wellness?
Yep. I mean, obviously, financial wellness or a lack thereof, can and will result in all of the things mentioned on this slide. I think programs such as College Coach and Bright Horizons Backup Childcare have a direct correlation to employee productivity and absenteeism. With College Coach, employees are spending less time at work trying to research and understand the whole college process, both the financial aid side as well as the admission detail side. And Backup Childcare prevents hundreds of sick days every year for us.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. So that covers absenteeism and productivity. The third component of something employers should care about around financial wellness is recruiting and retention. And this is one that everyone on the call here should really pay attention to. This one is going to get more and more important in the coming years. And the reason is we're entering a labor market that's more competitive. As the baby boomers are retiring, they're retiring at a faster rate than millennials are coming into the workforce. So the Conference Board is actually predicting by 2020 we're going to have a pretty big talent shortage with over 5 million more jobs available than there will be workers. So employers are going to have to work even harder to attract and retain the employees that they want. In addition, by 2020, over 65% of jobs will require some kind of post-secondary education, which, if you've been paying attention for the last 15 minutes, carries with it a lot of debt. So you're going to have this workforce that's going to have more choices, but also be saddled with more debt. And so if it's harder for you to recruit these folks, you're going to need to have some things in place to address financial wellness and ideally student loan debt if you want to be competitive in your recruiting and retention. In fact, we just did a study on millennials, and over 35% said that they expect their employers should actually help contribute to pay down their student loans, even though that doesn't really exist today, but they think that they should. You obviously, many folks have a program to go back to pay tuition if they go back to school, and millennials are saying, well, I did go to school. Maybe you can help contribute that I have incurred because of that. Okay, so we had absenteeism, productivity, and recruiting and retention. So what can you do about it? What can you do about these problems? The first thing, whenever you have a problem, is to admit you have a problem. So admit that your employees need help. And as you can see in this survey, only 6% of employees surveyed had strongly agreed that their employer helps them manage their finances effectively. So most of us are probably in that 94%. So if you don't know, again, back to your action item, you should be asking what you think you're doing. Excuse me. So let's talk about some solutions that can impact financial wellness. So two of them we have here at Bright Horizons. One is College Coach, another is Ed Assist. So when we recognize the tremendous stress, both financial stress and admissions-related stress the college process puts in place, we founded College Coach 15 years ago. The idea was to take former admissions officers and financial aid officers, folks that made decisions, come out of those colleges to give impartial expert advice to employees so that they can best meet whatever goals they have for their family and their children. How to best save for college, how to best pay for college, and how to manage the admissions process to get to the school they're to get into. They get help through webinars, private one-on-one sessions, and a rich learning center that the whole family can access. And you can see the full list of topics there. So we've been doing this about 15 years, and Wayne in a minute is going to talk about what we do with them specifically. About 2 years ago, we launched that education loan repayment strategies topic from feedback from some law clients we had of folks coming in with just over $100,000 of debt, and could we do something about that? So we put together a topic there to address that, and I'll get into that in the Q&A section. And later this year, or right around now actually, we're going to launch the Ed Assist Loan Repay product. Back to that point about millennials expecting employers to pay down, help contribute to pay down their student loans. We're going to have an offering that both pays the services of the loans according to the policies that the employer set, and then provides advising to help optimize those loans so that the employer pays only what they should be paying to make that an efficient process. So we have a lot to do, a lot to offer here, but rather than me continue to talk, let's hear from Wayne and how he has used College Coach for his workforce at Neuberger Berman.
Well, my employees like to talk about College Coach as providing not only financial wellness, but mental wellness as well. I found when I discussed this benefit with people who have used it, I kind of found three areas that resonated consistently throughout as a particularly beneficial. One is the essay preparation service you guys provide, which allows students to write their essays and have them critiqued by the College Coach advisor. Two is providing a reasonable list of potential colleges that you're likely to be accepted to based on your profile. High schools do this, but they provide a very, very large list, almost unmanageable. College Coach provides a list of about 12 schools. And then really the private sessions with the College Coach experts where they provide advice on topics such as how to best save for college, how to apply for financial aid awards, and all the things that go along with that. I think it's important to understand that there's no vested interest on the College Coach side. They're unbiased. They're just really trying to get to the best possible answer. They're not trying to push you to any particular school or gaining any sort of financial benefit by steering you in any direction. It truly is impartial advice.
Thank you, Wayne. That's a great point. And, if I can just interject for a second, some of these benefits you're talking about for the employee are tremendous. For the employer themselves, I can tell you that there is a tremendous increase in employee engagement and just gratitude from the employees when they go through a College Coach benefit, because it's such an emotional process when you have children and you're trying to get them in the right place in a way that you can afford it. Our advisors love being able to be impartial. I can tell you that, for example, we have folks that did financial aid that would tell you that how to negotiate a financial aid award that they would never be able to tell you when they were at the college, but now that they are impartial, they can do that and have folks get a bigger financial aid package than they would have otherwise. So many employees would have no idea these experts exist, or couldn't even afford them, many, even if they did know they exist, these kind of experts. So the fact that the employer has brought them to bear for their employees really generates some tremendous engagement for those employees. It can be the answer to the question of, why is it different to work at Neuberger Berman? Give me an example. And this is the kind of thing that they typically cite. Okay, so tell me, Wayne, how do the employees utilize College Coach there?
Well, again, the chart here is pretty self-explanatory. We've exploded usage in the 2 short years we've been doing this. We were a partial year in 2012, and in 13 we were full year in 14, and you can see our registrants, are up, tenfold. Our personal advice are up, and then the portal page views is incredible. We have had a very at a senior level of this organization, sort of helping champion the program, helping to communicate the usage. And right now we have about 15% of our population registered with the online portal is incredibly important because it's a whole family issue. It's not just the employees that get to use the portals. It's the spouses, the children can access the content there as well, which I think is really an important benefit that is maybe unnoticed.
Yeah, and we design it that way so that there is that portal that the whole family can access, so that the employee can go to the webinar, and then they can go home to their spouse and their children and say, watch this online and submit questions too. So, what kind of feedback are you getting, Wayne?
You look at this slide, like I said earlier, I don't like to reread slides, but you look at that bottom comment, right? 100% of employees who've used College Coach will recommend it. That is pretty impressive. The people here that tend to use it tend to be like in their 40s, maybe their 50s, and given their age, they tend to be a little bit senior. And like I said, the positive experience of relatively senior employees has really helped drive participation, as well as really making the renewal process every year a lot easier on me.
Excellent. I'm going to jump in quickly with a question we actually got from Vanessa asking, what recommendations do you have to help employees reduce student loan debt? I can tell you that our experts know about federal programs that allow for some consolidation. And in general, on average, we're saving folks roughly $5,000 when they come to us with a portfolio of debt that we can help them optimize and figure out ways to steer those to the right vehicles. Again, things that we don't offer, we just give them advice. But when you can save someone real money like that, it just drives these kind of employee feedback results that you see Wayne talking about here.
I'd like to say I personally have benefited from College Coach in really, I would say, 2 important ways. My daughter has used the service to assess 2 of her essays. And the interesting thing watching that process was the essay where she didn't spend as much time on, got a lot more critical feedback than the one she spent a lot of time on. And I'm proud to say she's now a rising sophomore at Northeastern University in Boston. And personally, for my career, it's been beneficial for me as a career because, I'm the one that brought this benefit in here, and the high grades that you see on that slide really don't go unnoticed.
So you're a hero to your firm and your daughter, that's what you're telling me.
Yep.
Fabulous. A lot like this webinar, folks that use College Coach come from all industries. The common thread is, we have a majority we have a lot of financial services, a lot of healthcare, but the common thread is someone like you has recognized the stress, the financial wellness stress that the college process has put on their employees and done something to address it. Okay, I'm really happy that we got 5 minutes here to answer some more questions. Before we do, I just want to let you guys know that this is one in the series of webinars and events that we do here. We call the Solutions at Work Live series. And so I'd encourage you to go to the link there you see on the screen, click on that, and sign up for the newsletter to be notified of future webinars and events. Because hopefully you found this valuable. We try to make them short and bring a lot of data, bring a lot of recommendations to them. You can see some of them coming up, new research on millennials, new research on modern families, and so we have our own consulting group that does research, so we're bringing a lot of research to bear. Please sign up for upcoming events. We also have a live event that we do each year for clients and prospects called the Solutions at Work Live annual conference. This year will be in Miami, I believe. Later this year, if you're interested in that, it's a 2 to 3 day conference, phenomenal, both outside speakers, client speakers. If you would like to come to that, please sign up. And we're going to do a survey quickly just to rate this webinar, how we've done here, so we can continue to improve this. So please answer that while I answer some of these questions. And wait, I did just hear a siren. I love that New York living.
I staged that for you.
Okay. Okay, let's first, Wayne, talk about, the first question for you is how do you let people know about the College Coach program to let them know and make sure they utilize it?
So I think there were 3 ways, and 2 of them are very traditional, and one of them really works well with this particular product. We use our firm's intranet, but we all know that, sometimes people tend to, glaze over the intranet. We use email. people get a lot of emails here, so, I guess people that, are interested in the product may pay attention, but maybe everybody doesn't. But I will say what's been really beneficial here, as I mentioned earlier, is the word of mouth. It's like having a good contractor. You do a good job, and it really sort of steamrolls the usage.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Here's another question from Christine. Can you talk more about the loan repayment benefit? Yes, so this is something brand new. The way it would work is you as the employer will set a policy of how much you're willing to contribute to your employees' student loans, qualified, outstanding student loans. It could be $3,000, it could be $5,000, whatever you'd like to do. We will set up a system to make sure those qualifications are met and then service the loan payments to the servicer directly. And at the same time provide College Coach experts to advise employees on how to consolidate those loans so we make sure that we're paying down loans that are the absolute minimum of interest rate we have to do. So it's a combination of advising for the employees that they get through webinars and one-on-one, as well as a system that pays down school loans. You're going to see there's legislation pending right now, actually, that if it passes, will make it tax efficient for employers to pay down these loans, much like 401k is today. If that happens, this will definitely become a minimum benefit that millennials in particular will be looking for as they choose who to work with. Again, please click on that survey and give Wayne glowing remarks at least as you fill that out. Okay, another question for Wayne. Wayne, what advice do you have, or how did you make the case internally for these type of programs?
So I think there's really, probably two ways to attack this, and, if both work, that's great. If one works, it's probably okay as well. First, buy-in is always easier if you can prove some sort of return on investment. I think with the increased productivity, reduced stress of employees, I think the ROI is pretty apparent. So you may want to make the case that way. And again, the other one is that two-way street. If the firm really wants to provide a work-life balance, it's a really easy sell or good sell to say this College Coach thing is a unique opportunity to sort of provide a benefit to employees.
Thank you. Another thing we do, if you really have a decision maker that you want to convince and you're having a hard time, we do let folks try it. We can either do a personal counseling session for themselves, or in some cases let the firm try it as well to run a pilot so that...
Actually, that's what you guys did with Neuberger Berman. We guys piloted for a brief period in 2012, and it was so well received. We took the service on in 2013.
Great. Yeah, that's powerful. You can get ROI data from your own workforce, and that can help make the case. Okay, we've got a couple minutes left here, but Wayne and I can be here all day. But we'll take a couple more questions. Let's see. I think we've covered this one. Again, a question of how do we determine what's stressing our employees? Is it invasive to ask about their financial stress even via a survey? Wayne, do you think it's invasive to ask?
So, we're a huge believer in surveys. We use a lot of them. We believe they're good, but it's really important the employee feels the confidentiality is preserved. In fact, right now, we're right in the middle of a pulse survey with one of the services, the benefits I talked about earlier, our Employee Investment Solutions product, which is relatively new, and we're kind of asking people, is it providing what they need? If so, tell us why it is. If it's not, tell us why it's not, and what else you would expect from that product. So, we're trying to continually improve our product through surveys and such.
Yeah, I can tell you, from the Bright Horizons perspective, we do, obviously, as many folks do, an annual employee well-being survey. And you do have to be prepared if you ask questions that you're willing to do something in response to what you get back. I would just caveat it that way. I do think you should be asking because it definitely is a big impact on employees. But if you do ask about financial wellness, be ready to respond with something. Okay, a couple more questions. Uma would like to know, do employers offer services not only to employees but their families as well? That's true of College Coach. So again, as Wayne talked about, you can actually submit your child's essays into College Coach, and we'll give feedback on that essay from someone who's read thousands of essays. And we design the learning centers with the intention that the spouse and children would access that content to do make it a full family benefit. Is there other things around engaging the whole family, Wayne, that you'd comment on?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
So the question was around, are these benefits some things that can engage the entire family? College Coach does in some ways. Are there other things you can think of? I know this is live, so that engage the whole family and benefits that you offer around financial wellness?
Like I said, our EIS product, which allows family members to have financial planning advice, and as well as our college coach, which like we talked about, and quite honestly, the Bright Horizons, the backup childcare, are benefits that really push down outside of what I deem to be the immediate employee population.
Okay. I'm going to just take a minute now. We have a few more questions. I'm just going to take a minute now to really thank you, Wayne, for taking your time, and everyone else for taking their time on their lunch hour here, lunch half hour, to join us. I think it's been really, really helpful. We've seen a lot of more questions coming in, but fill out the survey, sign up for our Twitter handle, link and sign up for our newsletter so you find out about other webinars. But hopefully this has been useful for you, and I'm going to keep going. But if you want to drop off, I will not be insulted. So thank you for spending some time with us. The next question is from Deborah. She wants to know, what's the cost for a college coach? This is my favorite question, Deborah. And you can be sure that someone's going to be reaching out to you to tell you in detail. The good news is we customize the program based on your workforce and how much expertise you want. So we have a whole list of topics, and depending on what you choose would change the price. But it's very, very cost effective. It has a huge ROI. It's very reasonable. So you can be sure someone will get back to you specifically on that one. Here's another question from Howard. Will Bright Horizons college experts ever tell a participant their child just shouldn't go to college? Either it's too expensive, waste of money, or too dumb. We will give advice to a student around a list of schools that are safety schools, just right schools, and reach schools. We will talk to them, too, about understanding what are your goals to go to college, and make sure we emphasize for folks there is not just one right place to go, right? If you don't go to one certain college that you or maybe your parents have their heart set on you going to, that doesn't, there's over 4,000 colleges out there, as well as other choices, military and workforce choices that are valid. And so we will work through a process to help you understand what your goals are and what makes sense. We definitely talk about the trade-offs between a degree maybe at your public college that you get in-state tuition versus the out-of-state colleges, and help make those trade-offs and help figure out how would you finance it if you did do the out-of-state. So it's a pretty long answer to that question, but we definitely have a point of view that there's no one right college, and the right choice is what's right for your family, and we walk through those options. Okay. I think that's about it for now. Again, thank you for everyone who sent in questions. If we didn't get to it, we will send you a reply. I want to thank you again, Wayne. You did a phenomenal job, and thanks everyone for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.